Hellboy is an R-rated reboot based on the Mike Mignola comic starring David Harbour and is directed by Neil Marshall, who, by the way, also made Dog Soldiers. It's a pretty cool movie. Poorly edited, but still pretty cool. Hellboy retells the story of, well, Hellboy, a big red devil man who works for a special paranormal unit called the BPRD. And while he's on the job fighting monsters, he gets involved with a witch who wants to destroy mankind. I gotta admit, I was skeptical at first, and even when the first trailer came out, I was still hoping this movie would turn out good. But the best thing I can say about this is that it's very okay. Let's get the obvious out of the way first.
Hellboy.
For years, Guillermo del Toro wanted to make another Hellboy movie, but for some reason it never happened, and after he finally gave up in 2017, they were redoing Hellboy with another director and David Harbour starring the film instead of Ron Perlman, which seemed a little weird. That being said though, I really like David Harbour. He's a good actor, and underneath all of that makeup there's a man who's giving it his all. And he's actually the best part of the movie, unless he has to talk a bunch, because he does not sound great with all that rubber on his face. Seriously. Why they didn't ADR his voice is beyond me. But I do like the body makeup of this Hellboy a lot better than the Perlman version. He seems a bit more realistic, a little bit more beastly. The other thing I liked about this film is that it's rated R, which means people speak like they fucking should in a movie like this, and the action is bloody and gory, just the way I like it. So at least tonally, it's much closer to the Mignola comic books. But besides having Milla Jovovich in the movie, it has a whole mess of other problems. Just like Del Toro's version, this film uses mostly practical effects, and it has a couple of really well done gory scenes. I truly respect the people in the art and makeup department, and you can tell they work their asses off. And that's why I feel really bad for them, because the people in charge of shooting all their hard work completely biffed it. It's some of the ugliest camera work I've seen in a while. That means shaky cam galore and terrible editing. So most of the action is pretty much unwatchable. Even the dialogue scenes in between look like a TV show on the Sci-Fi Channel. So I looked up the cinematographer for this film, and it's this man, Lorenzo Senatore, who was the director of photography for such hit films as Spiders 3D, Triassic Attack, Locusts, The Eighth Plague, Boogeyman 3, Monster Wolf, Sniper Reloaded, Alien Siege, Northman, A Viking Saga. But the biggest thing wrong with the film is the screenplay itself. They included so many stories from the comics, and because of that, the structure is messy and very poorly paced. There's a lot going on in this movie, and you never get invested in just one thing. It jumps around to so many different storylines. Also, the dialogue wasn't very good. Almost every character had a never-ending string of one-liners, and none of them were funny like they were meant to be. One of the things I noticed was that everybody calls Hellboy Hellboy, and yeah, that's his name, but you hear it so many times that it starts to sound silly. And again, in the original they mix it up a little.
I don't want Hellboy to know. Come back.
No, HB.
Red, come in, Red.
The villain of the movie was pretty generic, and I guess that's why they picked Milla Jovovich to play her. She gives a very hammy performance like she always does. Daniel Day-Kim was fine, and I love Ian McShane, but this was not his best work. He's also not in the movie a hell of a lot. He jumps into the story every now and then, tells Hellboy where to go and what to do, and then he's like, okay, bye. They do go into the relationship between Hellboy and his father, but again, you never get that emotionally invested. I myself own, I think, 2 Hellboy comics, but what I found really annoying during this movie was all of the expositioning. From beginning to end, there are long stretches with flashbacks and voiceovers explaining what happened. It's a bit much. The Hellboy comics are great, and there's so much lore, but you don't want to have it all in one sitting. I was very disappointed by this movie. It has some cool moments, and David Harbour did surprise me, but overall this reboot is very mediocre, and I don't think there will be a sequel like the ending of the movie suggests. Hellboy is a shiny rock. You want to know about the ending, don't you? Okay, well here goes. Spoilers. They introduce Ape Sapien, you see his hand or flipper or whatever. It's pretty lame, and a sequel is not gonna happen.
What about the foreign market like China?
Fuck.